Park Suk-yu ironically comments to the director that he was kind to Chae Eunbi. Ji-hyun responds that he has no other way to treat her. Park sighs and reflects that it's really hard to ignore her, as Chae in the past caught the runaway driver while Ji-hyun was in a coma, took care of his mother, and moreover, is the younger sister of a friend of his. Their families know each other, so he can't help but treat her with consideration. Park points out that, despite everything, Ji-hyun should resolve his situation if he wants to find a partner. Ji-hyun simply responds that it doesn't matter. Park, with a mocking tone, asks who he plans to accompany with the umbrella and the coat. He reveals that he saw everything the night before, how the director acted as if he were in a cliché movie. Ji-hyun tries to defend himself, but Park continues, mentioning that he saw manager Jung-oh wearing a piece of clothing he had given to the director. The director, somewhat embarrassed, says he didn't even know that clothing was a gift from Park, who seems a little annoyed but decides to ignore it. Then, he points out that the director is acting like someone in love. Ji-hyun tries to justify himself by saying that he only likes Young's appearance and that he had never acted like that with anyone before, which is why he feels a bit annoyed. Park challenges him, saying that it's impossible that he doesn't like her if he cares so much about whether she gets wet from the rain. He adds that he wants to be with her but thinks she doesn't like him, that he gets upset when she gets hurt but still believes it doesn't bother him. Concluding that in the end, this is pure love. Already next to Young, he doesn't think his curiosity about her is special. He believes it's because he's a man and only feels sexual desire, an instinct. Questioning how he could fall in love with someone he met only 10 days ago. At that moment, Young tells Ji-hyun that she will wash his coat before returning it. He replies that it's not necessary, that she can return it as is since it was a gift from a friend. Young, intrigued, wonders why he lent it to her if it was so important to him. At that moment, Ki-hoon appears, calling Assistant Lee with a burst of joy. Running towards them and greeting them. He asks if the director is about to leave, and turning to Young, offers to take her home. She asks if he doesn't have plans since it's Friday. But he explains that the place he's going to is near her home and repeats the offer. Before Young can respond, Ji-hyun interrupts, pointing out that the office phone is ringing and no one is answering. Ki-hoon, somewhat confused, says he doesn't hear anything, but the director insists. Finally, Ki-hoon says he'll check, then leaves, saying that Young should leave first since he has to send some emergency materials. Young understands and wishes him good work. Ji-hyun, seizing the opportunity, places his coat over Young's shoulders, asking her to wear it. He tells her that it was a gift from a dear friend, so she must return it on Monday, but then suggests returning it over the weekend instead. Young nods but realizes that Ji-hyun is including her in his weekend. At home, Young receives a message from Ji-hyun with a video that, according to him, will be useful for preparing a meeting. She wonders why he is sending her that on a Friday night and if he's implying that she should work. Then Yina, with a radiant expression, adds that she is happy because her mother will arrive early that day. Young asks her what she wants to do that day and if she only wants to eat cake with her mother and grandmother. Yena responds that yes, since she knows her mother will be home that day. Young, excited, tries to hug her, but the little girl runs away wanting to play Go. Moved, Young feels proud and thinks that all her work is for Yena. Although she regrets not having enough time to show her love, she feels that her daughter is her strength to overcome any obstacle, even dealing with a boss who sends her work messages on a Friday night. While Yena tries to teach her to play Go, Young gets lost in thought as she needs to find a way out. She believes that stepping back doesn't mean running away, and the best thing is to let her boss get mad because all she needs is Yina and she won't cross any lines. So the weekend passes, and Ji-hyun, somewhat annoyed, reflects that Jung ignored his messages all weekend. When she finally replied, she did so coldly. He asks via message why she took so long to answer. Jung responds that she didn't want to talk about work during the weekend. Ji-hyun jokes, saying that she texts like a delivery person, and Young plays along, saying that if he wanted same-day delivery, he should have sent the message before 3 p.m. on a weekday. Although she gets a bit confused in her joke, she manages to make Ji-hyun laugh. He understands and sends her another work video, and Young responds that she received the message and will take care of it. The director imagines Young's expressions as she reads his messages and feels that the heavy atmosphere has dissipated. Everything seems to flow naturally. He tells himself that Young is so interesting that he wants to keep her close. During the meeting, one of the employees mentions that an advertiser from Daewon Liquor had proposed an idea, which was to make 3 sketches and combine them into one. Everyone present had expressions of surprise and concern, considering that this would mean redoing everything from the beginning. They also wondered why it had to be 3 sketches. Cho, looking at Young, asks if she has anything to say. Confused, Young wonders what she should say. Thus, Cho blames her for the situation, saying that this wouldn't have happened if she had stayed quiet during dinner. Young defends herself, explaining that she only relayed what the team leader had said. He intervenes, justifying that these things happen. The discussion divides the team members as they debate how to handle the advertiser's demands and delivery times. In the middle of the conversation, Yoonbi interrupts and suggests that Jung-oh take care of the final editing of the sketch, arguing that she had more contact with the advertisers and that her workload wasn't so heavy. She also points out that Jung has many skills. Jung-oh looks at her with a hint of annoyance, thinking to herself if she's going to keep getting revenge like this. She quickly considers that she must finish everything before Yena's birthday. She decides to accept the challenge, preferring to take control rather than being tossed around. Firmly, she announces that she'll take charge of the project and asks to have all the ideas sent to her email. Thus, the meeting concludes, and once outside, Eunbi mentions that she already has her ideas ready and asks Jung to copy and organize them, since she can use them. Young suggests sending them virtually, but Yoonbi insists it would be easier for her to transcribe and organize them herself. At the same time, a man approaches Ki-hoon to ask for his help and requests his presence for a moment, informing him that the team has a work plan for next Wednesday. He asks if Ki-hoon is available in the evening, but Ki-hoon, somewhat uncomfortable, asks if it's really necessary to do it today. Young intervenes, suggesting that it could be done next Monday, since Ki-hoon also has a lot of work. The man understands and agrees to schedule the presentation for next Monday. Ki-hoon thanks Young for intervening, and she responds that it's nothing, also commenting that it seems like many employees turn to him frequently. Ki-hoon confirms and asks how she knew. She answers that it happens because he's very good at making plans. Meanwhile, the man meets director Ji-hyun and informs him that the meeting has already ended. As Ji-hyun passes through the room, he overhears a conversation about it being easier to finish the sketches on Monday. And even better, forget about everything and let it go, since they will be asking for changes all the time. Concluding if he understood everything, Ki-hoon, who is inside the room, blushes when hearing this and seeing how cute his coworker is. Finally, he decides to approach Jung with something to say. With much embarrassment, he confesses that he likes. However, just at that moment, the director bursts in by forcefully opening the door. Ignoring the scene, he asks Jung if she has something to give him, referring to her coat. Jung, visibly nervous, rushes out, saying she will bring it right away. The director and Ki-hoon follow her out of the room. Once outside, she hands the garment to the director, thanking him. Ji-hyun comments that it wasn't necessary to wash it and asks if she's feeling better from the cold. She responds that yes, and the director shows relief while Ki-hoon stands aside, visibly uncomfortable. Then, Ji-hyun orders Ki-hoon to go to his office as he will review the designs personally. After the conversation, Ki-hoon returns to his workstation. Jung asks if he's okay, and the young man responds that yes, though nervously. He comments that the director is a very meticulous person. He then shows Jung something, a portable battery that the director had given him when he said his phone was out of charge. Ki-hoon, nervously smiling, says the director seems like a nice person, while he starts sweating. On a Wednesday in a plaza, Ki-hoon and Young talk. He comments that time passes quickly and reminds her that she didn't respond to what he said before. Young, nervous, wonders if he said it just as co-workers. Completely in shock, she starts trembling. So, they both decide to sit on a bench, and Young tries to clarify things. She tells him she thought it was a joke, but Ki-hoon, surprised, asks who would joke like that. He adds that she's beautiful, even if she doesn't notice, and that's exactly what makes her more attractive. Young, somewhat uncomfortable, responds that she already knows she's pretty, very pretty, but Ki-hoon interrupts to say that it's true, which makes Jung change her answer, saying that she's not pretty and showing her wrinkles. The young man laughs and comments that the more he looks at her, the more fascinating and charming she seems. Anyway, he thinks that's a good thing. She, nervous, thinks about how direct young people are and how difficult it is to handle this situation since she's 2 years older than him. She wonders what to do with this innocent and young man and that she shouldn't hurt him or leave space for hope. Thus, she gets an idea. She decides to be honest to avoid misunderstandings. Finally, Young tells Ki-hoon with a firm voice that in reality, she has a daughter. The revelation leaves Ki-hoon completely surprised. And with that, we've reached the end of this week's chapter. If you made it all the way to the end, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this chapter in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe so our community can keep growing and we can reach more fans like you. See you in the next video. In the meantime, if you're from the near future, I'll leave you the next chapter and a comic you're sure to enjoy. Thank you for being part of this adventure.